Okay, made a couple changes here. Wet bin here, like you drawed, and another storage bin right here. I show that bin setting right on the pad where that other bin is, and then it'll just take a shorter auger, bring the unload out this way, take a shorter auger going to the dryer. You mentioned unloading trucks at 10,000 bushel an hour electric. The least, I mean, yeah, a transport auger takes too much horsepower to run electric. To unload at 10,000 bushel an hour takes too high of power. So here I show a dual tube chain conveyor, which you mentioned, and what I'm showing here is a 14-inch. I'm going to show you the literature here in a minute for what I would use, but this would need to be about 64 foot of tube in this section here. So about 64 foot of tube for this section, and then you have your elbow and a section underneath here. I'll show you this here a little bit. So the tube comes down, and then there's an elbow here. So the only concrete required would be this concrete for this pit here. So that would, I would think that would easily be within your budget. Of course, this conveyor here is going to cost much more than the concrete, but it would be very economical. Now, when looking at double tube chain conveyors, they are going to, hang on just a second. Okay, I wasn't able to do what I wanted to do. So what I'm gonna do here is move this page here. Okay, so right here we show the dual tube chain conveyor, and I want to go over a few details of this if you actually want to get 10,000 bushel an hour. They make them with a bend here, they make them with 45 and 32. You will want the 32-degree bend, and that way it reaches from your driveway up to the bin like the drawing showed there. And they have the drive over grates, so with this hopper, so you pour basically a trough and set that conveyor in there, and it comes up out, goes to your bin. Now as we look at that, let's go down here to capacities. Right here we have capacities. Now on these dual tube conveyors, this is just market standard. Everybody rates their conveyors like this. They rate a 12-inch at 10,000 bushel an hour, and a 14-inch at 15,000 bushel an hour, and a 10-inch at 6,000 bushel an hour. But there is an asterisk at that on each one. Some companies say up to, Souk up here has a little asterisk there next to it. If we go down here, it says capacity based on 0-degree incline. Increased incline will result in capacity reduction. It's also based on clean, dry corn with complete fill of inlet. So in reality, you won't get 10,000 bushel an hour out of this. I've installed these, and you'll get a solid 9,000 bushel an hour. So if you actually want that 10,000 bushel an hour, I'm going to say go to the 14-inch. The 14-inch is rated at 15,000 bushel an hour, and you can get a solid 12,000, 13,000 bushel an hour out of that without a problem. You're not going to actually get 15,000 bushel an hour, and you're not actually going to get 10,000 bushel an hour. These dual tube chain conveyors are not like square conveyors. Square conveyors you can usually get as much as they say, sometimes a little more. But with these, you're going to get slightly less. So to get the full 10,000 bushel an hour, you'll want to go to 14. Then you'll get a little more. But with the 12-inch, like I say, you're not going to exceed 9,000 bushel an hour. And your incline is So if we look at the inclines here, it says on a 30-degree incline. So as you go up on your inclines, 30-degree incline, you decrease capacity by 25%, which puts your 14-inch conveyor down to 10,800 bushel an hour. Now they will also say that if you fill it on the level and then go up, you will get more capacity that way than filling it on the incline. So you will get more capacity than this 10,000 bushel an hour at the 32-degree incline. You will get more like this 12,000 bushel an hour, but the 15,000 bushel an hour, it doesn't work for that. So you don't actually get that, especially with the inclining the way you want to do it. You're going to get closer to this 12,000 bushel an hour with filling on the level and then going up 32 degrees. So that is going to be the most economical way to fill your fill your wet bin from the trucks with electric drive. And them capacities are also rated on excuse me, clean, dry corn. You're going to be running wet corn, so you're going to get a little less. So least cost, last you many years. Put the 32-degree elbow, 14-inch grain cannon, and it will unload your trucks fast. It will get them unloaded in a timely manner. So that's what we're looking at here, is the 32-degree incline, 14-inch grain cannon. This tail might be over a little more. That hopper actually is going to be this way a little bit, more like that. And this here will stick up, and there'll be grates over all of this. So yeah, you will have this area here to drive over. The exact position of that hopper is a little bit depending on how it's ordered, but I would make sure you have about 6 foot from where this comes out of the concrete over that hopper. That way you don't have to drive right against here to get over the hopper. That way your truck is a couple foot away from the side there. But that would be the most economical way to fill your wet bin. Although the downside of that is, if you were to expand your wet bin in the future, you would need to, which actually, if you were to say take that wet bin out and put a bigger one in the future, you could just put it this way a little farther and just extend the head of that. So yeah, that's fine. That's not a terrible idea to go that way. Which your drive will need to be up here on top of the bin to run this conveyor, because they don't do a tail drive when they have the elbow in here. They always do the head drive. So that will put some weight up on top of your bin. May need to put some supports. If this is not a stiffened bin, I would recommend putting 2 stiffeners up the side of the bin next to this and supporting this here. That way that weight isn't all on the roof. That way you're supporting it off the concrete with 2 channel iron or stiffeners going up the bin to the conveyor, and so it sets here and at the eave, and then you don't have a lot of weight setting up here on the peak of the bin. That's what I would recommend on that. So yeah, and that would be for this right here, we're looking at 60 foot of pipe between the head and the tail, as a minimum, like no less than 60 foot from the elbow to the head. And yeah, that should do the job. Let me know if there's anything else you want done. Or if you want any other measurements or Any other details, let me know.